Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 17 of The Joy of Coding. Great to have you here. Good to see you. I've got Wacky Morning DJ running here. Let's make sure it's working. Hopefully, you can hear this.
Oh yeah.
Hope you got that. Let's get started. All right. So here's today's agenda. June 3rd, 2015. I'm back from holiday. So I'm not sure if you saw last week's episode. There was one, but I had pre-recorded it. So if you're interested on like how I'm playing all these sounds, last episode talked all about that and like all the little app I wrote, and I've open sourced it and I put the repository up. So if you're curious to know how all of that kind of works, check that out. Hopefully the sound effects that I'm playing are not going to be annoying.
Oh yeah.
But if they are, let me know. Send me a message. There's like all sorts of ways of giving me feedback here at the bottom. By the way, this agenda is available online. You can find it if you're watching this on Air Mozilla. You can go to the additional links section down below, and there will be a link to the agenda, and you can contact me via any of these ways that I've listed. So, what are we going to do today? Well, first, I want to give you an update on stuff that happened last week. Hang on a second. Let me switch so you can see my screen. Here we go. Okay, and apparently my camera's a bit high, so I'm going to pitch it down a little bit. There we go. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the thing we've been working on over the past couple of weeks, not last week, but the weeks leading up to that, which was the print dialog not getting focused, not working properly on OS X. Guess what? The patch we wrote, it went through review and it landed. So there was a little bit of activity that you missed out on, and I'm going to talk briefly about that. Basically, we mostly had it all right. Everything that we did was pretty straightforward. Let me show you the code review. Here, let me pull up the code here. And so here's the review that I got from Marcus over here. Basically what he was saying, where was it? Here, he went through and he marked all my to-dos where I was worried about like memory allocation and deallocation. And he basically told me that like I don't really have to worry about a lot of the things that I'd highlighted. That Cocoa or Objective-C has this like kind of built-in memory management thing that will like clear out things that don't have like they don't exactly do reference counting, but they whenever you allocate something in Objective-C, you are also responsible for deallocating it. And whenever you're handed something that something else has allocated, you can mark it with retain. There's this call, you can make a retain call on it. And then whenever you're done retaining it, you can, I think it's release it or something. I think it's release. And once the release, that's kind of like more explicit reference counting where you can choose whether or not you want to like add a counter to this thing saying like, I'm still holding on to this. And like that's one way of doing it. That's how OS X does it, or sorry, Objective-C does it anyways. And so a lot of the memory stuff that I was worried about, I don't really have to worry about unless I'm explicitly allocating it myself. And there was one thing that I was allocating myself, which was this like, I think it was a date formatter. Where did he talk about it? Here. I had to like do this thing with this date formatter that I had to allocate myself, and then he actually came up with a different way for me to do it, where instead of having to like convert it into a string via a date formatter, I can like I can convert it into a number, and then I don't have to create a date formatter in that case. I can use this date with time interval since reference date method on NSDate, and I can use that, and that apparently allows me to sidestep allocating a date formatter, and I can just use a double instead of holding it in a string. So that's good. And after that, there was just a bunch of small things that we were dealing with. I changed. So there's this method in NSPrint settings X called set Cocoa print info. That's the thing that we were swapping in the print info, the NSPrint info that we had created in our little deserialization routine, and the set Coco print info thing was just setting the print info that was passed in to mprint info, but it wasn't releasing the old print info, so we had to do that. And like there was a technique he basically told me about, which was about setters. Whenever you have a setter for Objective C objects, you do this like you check to see whether or not what was passed to you is a copy of what you're already holding on to, and if so, you just bail out, you're done. But if not, then you release the old thing, and then you retain the new thing, and then mark it, like then you hold a reference to it. So that's the pattern that I ended up using for set Coco print info, and guess what? It landed! It landed! I don't know if that was the right sound. I'm having a hard time like reading my soundboard here. I think I need to get like a little stand. But I'm just pressing buttons. But it landed. It worked out. And I got to ship it and it works. So right now it's in nightly. If you're on OS X and you try printing with E10S enabled, hopefully two things will have happened. The print dialog should take focus immediately, and the what's the other thing? Oh, it should be high resolution. It shouldn't be low res anymore. So that's good. And so I'm going to play a success sound. We did it, people. We did it. So that's what happened last week. And let's talk about what we're going to do this week. So here's what I'm working on this week. There's this bug 116188, stop using sync messages for the Gecko profiler. So I've started to like think a lot about performance in E10S, like how long it takes to do various things. Those big tab spinners when you're switching tabs, I really want to get rid of those, or mitigate, reduce their occurrence as much as possible. And in order to do that, we need to use a tool to figure out what's slowing us down. And the tool of choice is the Gecko profiler. There's also the performance tab in the browser toolbox. We have a number of tools that allow us to figure out what Firefox is doing over a period of time so that we can identify bottlenecks and try and reduce the bottlenecks as much as possible. And the Gecko profiler is one of those tools. It's the one that you may have seen me use. It's let me show you an example. So I'm going to gather a profile right now. So it's gathering a profile, and it's symbolicating it because on OS X that's very easy, and I don't have to communicate with the symbol server apparently. And here's a profile, and it's kind of confusing to read, but basically this is a timeline. From the left to the right, this is the passage of time from when I started the profiler to whenever I dumped the profile here. And we can see various things that are going on. Each one of these items is like these rows with the green lines are either a different thread or a different process. And in this case, because we're using an E10S, we have our content process, samples from our content process right here. And then we have the compositor thread happening right here. And this is the main thread on the main process running here. And then we also have this entry for like draw and rendering events like compositing and reflowing, and there are other things that are happening here. And we can zoom in and see what's going on at any particular time and take a read on like what Gecko is doing. So we can drill down at like say we're in here and we want to know like what's this busy section over here, and we can see that, oh well, we were painting at this time. All these highlighted regions are when we were painting. So maybe we were painting too long. Maybe there's something we can do about making painting faster. So that's kind of the way we do it. Is we sample something that we think it could be made faster, and then we look for patterns in the profile. We look for things that are happening too slowly, and then we try and speed them up. And then that's how we make things faster. And before the profiler came around, it was a lot of like manual instrumentation. We'd add like little timers inside the code, and we'd print them all out to the console. It was pretty bad. I mean, it was like a... Mamma mia! It was pretty bad. And so the I'm pretty proud of these sounds. I've got quite a collection. I can't wait for you to hear them all. But yeah, I mean, the Gecko profiler is a humongous step forward in making things better and making things faster. And this is what we use. Like during the Australis redesign of Firefox Desktop, there was a lot of work to try and make the tab opening and closing as smooth as possible. And this tool, the Gecko profiler, was instrumental. So that's kind of what I'm working with here, and the bug that I'm working on is to stop using sync messages for the Gecko profiler, because whenever we gather these profiles from like the content process, and because we can also profile plugin processes, but when we do that, we send a sync message from the parent to the child, and that's not great. For two reasons. First of all, we're never supposed to block on the content processes or the sub processes ever. But the other bad thing is that we can sometimes get into a deadlock state where we're sending a sync message down to the child while the child is sending a sync, like waiting for information about a sync message from the parent, and then you get yourself deadlocked. That's really bad. So the solution to that is to use asynchronous messages, and that means I have to like dig around inside the profiler, like not the UI profiler code, but like the actual portion of Gecko that does the sampling. Because this add-on that I've got installed here and this Cleopatra thing that's showing the UI, this is just the surface of the profiler. The profiling code is actually built into the Gecko code base, the Firefox code base, and I use the add-on to turn it on and turn it off. But the profiler is always there. It's just not always running, not unless I ask it to run. And that's the stuff that I'm interested in. That's the stuff that I need to muck around in. And it's a little complicated. I'll show you why. So I've actually got a lot of open files here that do not matter anymore. And I just closed one that did matter. Oh, well.
Mamma mia!
Too bad. The place that we're going to look is under Tools, Profiler, and there's just this whole bunch of stuff. All this stuff is for Profiler. And what I've done is I found the place where we ask the parent process to ask the child processes to get profiles. Let me show you what that looks like right now. So it's in this thing called Table Ticker, which is, I believe, an object that's responsible for like collecting all of these samples in some kind of internal table or something like that. But there's this function in here called JSON stream. Where is it? Stream JSON. That's what it is. And this is what we're doing in this function is we're constructing this giant JSON blob. Because in the end, that's what the profiler UI understands is JSON. This humongous object, JSON object. That we like turn into a string, and we can communicate with a string, and then we parse the JSON object, and that's what we sort of construct our profile out of. And this is where we actually construct JSON in C++. Excuse me. We have this thing called a spliceable JSON writer, and we create one, and then we tell it that we're like adding a property. It's basically a state machine where you tell it, I'm doing a property now. Here's the name of the property. Now here are the values of the property. Okay, I'm done the property. So for example, this is us doing the threads property of the profile, and that like it's not an amazing situation, but threads is where we put all of the information for the sub-processes as well. And so we start this property, threads, we pause the profiler, we get all of the like actual profiles from the individual threads running in the main process, and then down here we message a bunch of sub-processes. So we don't actually send a direct message to the sub-process, but we send this like observer notification around in Gecko saying, okay, is there anybody out there who knows about a child process that can send us a profile? And if so, they can call a function on the thing that we pass, this profile save event thing that we're passing in, and they synchronously like write using this tool or this object profile save event. They synchronously write their profiles back up into the parent, and then once this is executed, all of the child processes are done. So this is where we would deadlock in the event that the child process is waiting on a sync message. We would deadlock right here. But in the best case scenario, we do some Java stuff for Fennec, and then we finish creating this object, and then whoever called us gets the object. And stream.json is called by who? ToStream as JSON, and also as it's also called by ToJS object via ToJSON. Okay, so they're all. It's a little bit crazy down here, and there's been a lot of activity. There's a fellow on, I think, the DevTools team. I don't actually know which team he's on, but he's been working on like making the profiles more efficient. And so there's been a lot of activity down here. He's done a great job. Profiles have gotten a lot smaller, and I think faster to work with. Certainly faster to transfer because they're smaller. And so there's been a lot of activity, and I've just been kind of waiting for that activity to settle down before I really started this work. And so I have started the work, and I want to show you some of the code I've written already so that you're up to speed on what's going on. And this will also be good for me because whenever I explain stuff or attempt to explain things, I also get to better understand it, I feel anyways. And I've started to do like self-reviews on certain things. So the technique I'm using is actually, it's simple in the event that I was doing it from JavaScript. So I'll tell you what the technique is. It's like you send this observer notification around. We do the same thing we were doing before in Table Ticker, where we like, let me find that spot again. Okay. So we create this writer thing. We write all of the stuff out that we need to put in this profile, and we write out a bunch of the thread profiles in the main process, and done. Like we get all that done, and then we pause. Like we return. We go back to the event loop, and we hold on to this writer in this kind of like half-written state. And but before we go back to the event loop, we do message the profiler, the parents of, or anything that knows about subprocesses. We message them all again and say like, hey, does anyone have any profiles they can give us? And those, if they know that they have a child process that can gather a profile, they send a message, an asynchronous message, down to the child saying, give me a profile. And then they hold a reference onto this thing that we're passing through the observer notification. Then when the child returns the profile, the parent that was holding a reference onto the thing that we passed around through the observer notification, it just connects the two. It says like, okay, here's the profiler, splat, there you go. And as soon as all of the child profiles have come in, then we complete this we complete writing this JSON object out. We're done. And then we resolve a promise. The way I'm actually doing this is by constructing a DOM promise in C++, passing it to the caller that's asking for the global, like the overall profile, returning a promise, and then the promise resolves with the profile from all of the processes whenever it's been assembled. Because we can do that. Apparently, I found that out. You can create a promise in C++ and pass it into JavaScript land, and it'll work. Well, it'll kind of work, because I'm crashing right now. And this is, I don't know if this is going to be a very interesting episode, because, or maybe it will be, I don't know, because I've reached a point where, like, I'm stuck a little bit. Like, I don't know why I'm crashing. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Maybe I should build what I've got, and then you can see what's going on. Let's see here. Also, if you'll notice, my Mercurial is much faster than it's been in the past. That's because I'm using HG Watchman, and sometimes I use CHG. And if you're interested on making your Mercurial faster, check out my blog, because I've got some tips. So I think what I wanted to do was build under Tools Profiler. And while that's going on, we'll wait for it. And it's done. Alright. I don't know if the Jeopardy wait music, that might be particularly annoying. We'll see. So it's done building. Let's run it. And I don't have a test case. I have this like manual test case that I will show you. And it will crash. And what I will do is I will attach a debugger so you can see it, and we can like if I try and figure out together why it's crashing, because I have no idea. I have no clue. Thought I said, there we go. Process, what's the process number? 8849. So we are attached to the parent process now. I think it's still attaching. Okay, it is done. And now, in order to trigger like my async profile gathering stuff, I haven't actually hooked it up to the add-on just yet. Eventually, that's like the sort of the last step is to have either the add-on or maybe the DevTools performance tool or whatever pull in this async profile, and I haven't done that yet. So I have to kind of like manually do it. It's not too bad though. It's like a one-liner. I say services.profiler.get profile data async, and I press enter. And I think we are gonna crash. We do crash. We crash because we fail an assertion. There's this Moz assert here where like I don't know what's happening. JS auto check request depth. It has something to do with. Here's what I know. The problem is in my profile gatherer thing. This is my object that I'm using to like asynchronously gather everything. It's what I'm passing around through the observer notification service. And here somewhere it's at the resolution. Like all of this works where I'm sewing together all these profiles. That works fine. But this maybe resolve is where things are going wrong, and I don't know why. And this is kind of like I'm working with really scary things like JS rooted value and like JS parse JSON, and I've never worked with SpiderMonkey directly before, like the SpiderMonkey JavaScript engine. I've definitely written JavaScript, but I've never worked from the other side, which is like trying to manipulate the JavaScript engine from the other end. And so I don't really know what's happening here, but I do know that when I attempt to resolve this promise with my result, I fail. I hit this assertion. So the question is, why am I crashing? So let's write that down. Why am I crashing? Specifically, why is resolving the promise so causing us to fail this assertion? And what I plan on doing, I'm probably going to ask someone from the JS team. Maybe they'll know. But like, I'm certain they'll know. They'll be able to guide me right. But I'm going to spend a minute or two seeing if I can figure it out myself. And then if I can't, well, then I'll ask someone on the JS team. So let's see here. The assertion failure has to do with this CX, I assume, means context. CX usually means context, and we have this JavaScript context. And then it gets the runtime for the context. Now, there's an or here. It's either the request depth is, I guess, not 0, or the heap is busy. One of these two conditions is true. Let's find out which one. That will probably be a help. So, let's see. Runtime, request depth. And it won't tell me. Maybe I can inspect it directly. Or maybe the CX is just garbage. So, because there's this thing I'm doing. Maybe this is a bad idea. Maybe it has something to do with what I'm doing. But like, whenever I create this profile gatherer thing, I have this JS context that I stash inside of it. And I wasn't sure if that was safe to do. Like, I don't know if a JS context is supposed to be transitory, liquid, you're not supposed to hold on to it. I have no idea. But I do hold a reference to it, and then I attempt to resolve a promise that's from that context, and maybe something's going wrong there with that approach. So, let's ask. I think I've reached the point where I can't do this alone, and I have to ask. So, where do I go? IRC, and I'll go to JS API, and I'm going to bring my IRC client over here so you can see me chatting in this public channel. Who will I ask? Who's talking? Shu's here. Shu is the one who was working on the profiler, like making the profiles more compressed, like smaller. He might know, although, well, we could ask. So he's at least familiar with the profiler enough that I can not, I don't have to give him too much context. So I'm gonna ping him. And let's see what he says. Is he there? Come on. Are you there, Shu? No love. It doesn't appear to be there. Okay. Next person I could ask is Jason Orndorff. Brilliant JavaScript engine hacker. Let's see if he's there. Oh, there he is. Here we go. Shu's here. Great. Hey, just letting you know that I'm live streaming this conversation. Let me know if that's not cool. During a presentation on Irma. I'll leave you alone. Do you know if it's generally, if it's an okay idea to hold on to a JS context in an object while the event loop has had an opportunity to spin a few times? Like, hang on, maybe it'd be clearer if I post up what I've currently got for him to look at. So maybe I'll do that. I will commit what I've got, because I've gotten rid of a bunch of like logging and swearing and garbage code. So maybe I'll commit that, push it up for him to look at. I don't know, to be honest. I don't know much. He doesn't deal much with how Gecko uses the JS API. Okay. Alrighty. Cool. Thanks. So I'm pushing what I've ooh. BZ probably knows as usual. BZ. Dude knows everything. I don't want to bug him if I don't have to. The thing about BZ is everybody goes to him because he knows everything. So he's usually got a pretty full plate. And I don't like to, like, he's usually the person I go to if I'm just like, I have no other choice, because I don't like to like load him up with too many questions. Can't you use one of the RAII.js context classes? I have no idea. Like you, I don't really know much. I don't really work with the JS API at this level. So, here's the code. Ah! Alright, my tab crashed. I will restore that tab. Okay. Alright, if I recall correctly, you could just use auto JS context or something. Okay, so what is an auto JS context? Could that help me here? Okay, cool. Thanks. So maybe I'll still show him my patch. If you're interested, here's the patch I've written so far. Needs some cleanup. This is for the problem I'm dealing with is an assertion failure when I attempt to resolve the promise. Let's see. I should be able to just... There. And I have no idea what it means or what I'm supposed to do. I'm wondering... like, it's going to be great for the consumer to return a promise instead of taking a callback. Like, that's going to be something about entering requests. Yeah. That's about as far as I got to. So, I don't know. This is tricky. This is tricky. So, maybe, why does Profile Gather need a JS context at all? I assumed I needed to pass it in order to resolve the promise. Maybe resolve takes a JS context as its first argument. So this is good though. I've got someone helping me out. This is good. Gonna learn here. Maybe there's a good sound for this. Learning.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm quite pleased. Quite pleased with the sounds. Oh, and I assumed... but yeah, try auto.js context on the stack. Alright. I'll look into that. Thanks. So what is this auto.js context thing that he's been talking about? Let's restore all the crash tabs. I'm actually also curious to know why I crashed. So I'll do that in the meantime. Auto.js context. What else? What even is? What is this thing? What is an auto.js context? Use auto.js context when you need a JS context on the stack but don't have one passed as a parameter. Auto.js context will take care of finding the most appropriate JS context and release it when leaving the stack. Oh, that sounds good. That sounds like maybe exactly what I want. Shoo, You may have given me the key to the puzzle here, assuming that the context is where things are going wrong. So let's see it being used. Device storage request child, sure. Okay, I just instantiate it like that. Alright, let's try it. Let us try it. So instead of holding on to a context, we'll get rid of that. You know what? That's gonna take. I want to just like. I'm desperate for like immediate feedback, so I'll do this. That. Where else do I use it? Here, and then here. And hopefully the promise that I created, because I'm pretty sure I created the promise in a different context. Hopefully it's okay that I'm passing it back with this context. I assume so because I can pass a context. So we'll see. So let's see if that helps. Maybe that's gonna resolve my my failure. Yeah, I had some pretty rude. I had a pretty rude log message there. I was upset. I think that was my problem. I was upset that things were crashing. All right, shut down you. And build. Okay, so now that's built, I'm happy that it compiled, first off. That's great. And now we're going to see if that having that on the stack will help. Fingers crossed. Waiting for it to get its act together. Waiting.
Mamma mia!
If that sfinc has given me another suggestion. And if that doesn't work, try an AutoJS API. What even is? Ooh. For any interaction with JS API, an AutoJS API or one of its subclasses must be on the stack. This base class should be instantiated as is when the caller wants to use JS API but doesn't expect to run script. Caller must then call one of its init functions before being able to access the JS context through CX. Its current duties are as follows. Huh. Ooh, that sounds useful. Ooh, thank you. Better add a test for legacy generators, just in case, they said. Who the hell uses new on a legacy generator, he said. That's a mighty fine test failure you got there, the sheriff said. Says E. Faust. I don't get it. Oh well, I wasn't involved. Okay, so our browser is up and running. Let's open up the browser console. Oh. Get that. Okay, so let's see if this works. Yeah! We didn't crash. Awesome. Wait, are we about to crash? Are we? I think we're about to. Just crashed. And we still had these like rude. Still these rude log messages in there, huh? You know what? Before we completely discount what went on, let me do a full directory rebuild. Maybe make sure it all like links together properly. Now, auto entry script. I'm gonna copy that stuff and put it in here. That's useful. Useful stuff. It's always good to ask for help. So now we are waiting for this rebuild to complete. What can we do in the meantime? I can read up more on this AutoJS API thing. Is there an example I can look at? AutoJS API. Oh, I went after the service worker manager because I know that this works with promises. Window. Oh man. I'm so scared. Maybe reject, maybe reject. Where's maybe resolved? Here we go. Run. See, this one doesn't have to worry about anything being on the stack. What the dealio? Maybe because it's so runnable. Why is that? Why is that? Maybe we could look at more examples of things maybe resolving. Yeah, like what the deal? Promise create. Maybe I'm creating the promise all wrong. Maybe that's my problem. Well, let's run this again and see. Meantime, what's promise global object? The window. She needs some kind of global object for it. And I guess I kind of did that already in nsprofiler.cpp. Yeah, what is it? Async. Yeah, I like get this JS global. And I use that to create the promise. I don't know what's happening. Anyhow, let's see if this works a bit better. So, drum roll, please. Oh, preemptive. This looks like a crash, people. We are crashing out. Yep. Although it didn't say why. Well, I can attach my debugger to it, see if I can get a better sense of maybe why things crashed. It's a very frustrating bug because like I've done all the infrastructure work, and it's just this my lack of understanding of how the JS API works, creating promises over there. It's really upsetting me. Really getting quite angry. Not too angry, but it's frustrating me. Um, Attaching to the Firefox process. Okay. Services, profiler, get, profile data async. Boom. Crash for me. Here we go. So it's a different crash. This time it's in garbage collection. JSGC garbage collection. Looks like it happens during the resolution here. Huh. When we attempt to allocate. What? Why it's selected this code? What? Free list thing kind allocate. What? And then what is first? Ah, this is so weird. Where am I? What even is this thing? A free span represents a contiguous sequence of free cells in an arena. What? What does that mean? If an empty span first and last are both 0, which is not the case here, and a non-empty span first is the address of the first free thing in the span and last the address of the last free thing in the span. Neither of, like, these things are not defined. They don't have any. Can't read its memory, man. Like, it's null. This, what? Why is the no, it's not null. But I can't view the memory for some reason. Ah. Oh, this is a tragedy. I am stuck, people. I am stuck. If you're just joining us, I'm stuck.
Mamma mia!
I don't know what I'm gonna do. Ooh, people are talking about the profiler in here. People are talking about short hangs. So it's... alright. So, unrelated to what I've been working on. Although it is related to the profiler, this conversation has nothing to do with what I was talking about. So, hypothesis. I have several hypotheses. I'm going to go through them one by one. I'm creating the promise incorrectly. Hypothesis. I'm not using the right context, and I should use AutoJS API. Although, what global object do I connect that to in NSProfiler? So, Let's do a tour around the code to see how promises are created. Let's see how other people do it. I know exactly how I do this in JavaScript. This is so easy in JavaScript, and yet so hard in C. I don't know why. So it looks like anytime you create a promise, we generally pass two things: a global of some kind, a global object, something that the DOM promise is connected to, I guess, or belongs to. And then the second item, I guess, is the return value of whether or not creating this is successful. Because, yeah, we can check to see if it's failed. So maybe we're doing it all wrong. Here we get a global. Then we get a script global object, but we might not even need to do that. I might just be able to pass this JS global or global object get owner. What does get owner look like? It's not even defined on this file. Let's find another example. DOM cache. mglobal. What's mglobal? It's a COM pointer to a global object. When is it populated? Whenever it's constructed, the first item that's passed to it is that global. So who calls this constructor? Here. In this case, what's mglobal? So when the cache opchild is constructed, it's the second argument that's passed to it. Oh man, we are going down the rabbit hole. First object is passed to cache child execute op. Who calls that? Cache execute op. So now we're back in cache again. Oh, well, this is the craziest. What is going on? Promise create. Let's find another example, one that doesn't involve us going in circles. Just picking one at random. A global object is already passed here. See, like, how do we... How do we get this global? And here we have an owner again. A DOM window has to own it. The owner. Well, maybe we should go back to the original example I was working off of. Was this, the service worker manager. And the reason I was working off of that is because register returns a promise through xpcom, which is what we do. So this is what I was working off of. And so it's able to get a global object out of the window, where the window is passed in. Service worker manager. Service worker manager. Thank you, Jalen. Jalen just said that my setup looks smashing. And I appreciate that. Thanks, Jalen.
Oh yeah.
Aw, yeah. Um... In this case, you have to pass in a window. Do we have to do that? Do we have to have it always pass in a window? You know who I would ask is the person who suggested I use a promise in the first place. I wonder if Ason's around. So I'm talking to Ason. Aw, yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's probably my favorite sound of the whole bunch. Probably not the channel you intended. Well, so it's kind of related, I guess. Hmm. So Ason does not appear to be responding in JSAPI. I feel like I'm kind of on my own here. That's no good. Oh, you there? I am. BZ's talking to me. Hooray! Maybe he's gonna ask me for information and then I can trade with him. I can get him to show me how to create a promise properly. There's a version of maybe resolve that doesn't need a JS context, no? Is there? Huh. Ooh. Well, that's interesting. Tries not passing a context in. Which will not only hunt up a JS context tree, but also take arbitrary types and will convert them to a JS value for you. So maybe I'm just going about this. Maybe I'm being too careful. So what does that look like if I do it like this? Build. I'm also not convinced that it's linking after I do that. Because I was seeing those like log messages that I had done before. So I'm going to say build binaries as well, and that'll make sure that I link Zool. Link libzool. Alrighty. I'm wondering if there are any appropriate sounds to play right now.
It's me, Mario.
There we go. I, I'm on a Nintendo kick. Hopefully, Mario, says Ricardo. I, I hope that Nintendo doesn't come knocking. I'll claim ignorance. Maybe I just destroyed my defense by saying I'd claim ignorance. I don't care. Alright. Do I have Luigi? I'm pretty sure Luigi is the one going,
Mamma mia.
I'm pretty sure that's Luigi. But I don't have Luigi going like, it's a Luigi, or anything like that. Ricardo is pleased. This is a perfect opportunity to remind you that Ricardo has a show coming up in about an hour. I have an hour. I'm gonna stop streaming in about 30 to 40 minutes. Ricardo's gonna take my spot. He's got a show, Hour of Design. There's a link to it in the agenda. It's near the bottom. Highly recommend you watch that if you are of the designing type or you enjoy design. All right, let's see what happens here. I press enter. Hey, I got a promise back. Am I crashing? No, I'm not crashing. Holy smokes! What? What? The tab crashed, so that's... I'd call that an improvement. A slight improvement. Huh. And I'm getting a message. Someone is talking to me. Someone is talking to me. Where? Where are you talking to me? Someone is telling me about point-and-click adventure games, but I'll respond to them later. Meanwhile, I think we've made some progress. Let me thank BZ in JSAPI. Where is JSAPI? Where is JSAPI? It's arbitrary in the sense that we have a 2JS value that can handle them, but if we don't, you'll get a compile error. But we have 2JS overloads for most things. Ooh, I do believe you've moved me forward. Thank you. I do believe him. So that's great. BZ helped. Maybe I should have just gone to him first, but I didn't. So that's good. So let's make sure. Let's see what happens if I let P and then dot then result P equals result. P is still undefined. Oh, mGatherer. Oh, yeah. It'll only happen once because mGatherer exists. Okay. I think we gotta quit and we gotta sort this out. I got a couple of ideas. Like, I'm doing this weird thing. Let me kind of do a brain dump at you. I'm doing this thing where when this thing that I'm passing around to all of these things. I'm passing this profile gatherer thing around the observer notification service. And I'm basically saying to anyone out there, hey, do you have any processes that can profile? If so, increment this counter inside me, and then whenever you have the profile, just give it to me. And then I'll decrement the counter internally. And when that profile, that counter goes to 0, I know I have everybody. And then I can resolve the promise. And that's kind of lame. In that it's weird that I have to have the callers or the receivers of that observer notification, I have to have them call this function to increment that counter. It seems really lame, especially because there is already an internal counter to this object, the reference counter. So an idea I was kind of kicking around, and I went back and forward on it, and I eventually abandoned it, but I'm starting to come back around to it, is instead of having the individual process parents increment the counter, they just hold a reference to it, and then whenever the profile comes back from the child, each one of them just like sends that to the gatherer and then drops the reference. And then when the reference count goes to 0, inside the destructor of the profile gatherer, have that resolve the promise. The problem is that I think I was a little bit worried that things could go wrong in the destructor, and whenever you're like, you can't really do much error handling in a destructor. But it was an idea I was kicking around, and maybe I'll come back around to it. We'll see. So let's do this again, but this time let's attach a debugger to the child process to figure out why we crashed. Waiting. But I'm very glad that BZ appears to have moved me forward. So what's a good sound to play there? A 1-up sound from Mario. All right. So let's attach our debugger to the child process at that process number. All right. We're running. Everything's hunky-dory. Let's do that thing. Let's gather that profile. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So now the parent process crashed. That was a different crash. So now it seems like I've got this like unreliable crash. Sometimes, what a pain in the butt. Now sometimes I will crash in the parent, sometimes I'll crash in the child. This does not bode well. That sounds bad. We're in dire straits, people. It doesn't help that things are so slow. Alright, so let's see if this helps. Or no, let's attach, what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the debugger to the parent and the child process. So if either crashes, we can hopefully catch it. Alright, we're attached to both. And now Asan's back. So I'm crashing here. Aha. Aha. Bad access while attempting to copy stuff in the resolver. When I'm resolving. Whenever I attempt to copy the data, the address, I'm trying to dereference a null pointer, I guess. Moz assert that the string length what linked list? What? M list I.get. Something here. It's not even at the resolution. This we fail here. Copy data. What is going wrong here? I don't even know what I'm reading right now. This copy data thing, I think, is part of Shu's code that, like, helped compress some of our profile down. So on the first turn of this for loop, we're failing this assertion. mChunklist is this vector thing that has... It's a vector of... a unique pointer. And then all sorts of stuff on it. Okay. And it's making sure that the chunk list I.get is equal to the chunk lengths I. The string length of mChunklist I.get. I think that's this. Huh. Okay. Oh. We don't have the ending. This is just like a very short profile, and there should be more to this. The ending is supposed to be appended here. Here, we're supposed to write the rest of it. Stream the JSON foot. We were supposed to write the foot, which happens here. End the array, and then just end. Start. Do we even get the threads stuff? No, it's not in there. Maybe I'm not seeing all of it. Maybe there's more to it. View memory. Oh, whoops. Sorry, view memory of. The profile that was passed to. Or hang on, where am I? I need to get to the. Yeah, this. MWriter. JSON writer. Where's that profile that we got here? It's quite long. Do we actually append it? Where's the appending? We should have appended it here. And then finish off the writer. But then when we attempt to copy it, for some reason, I don't know. I don't know, people. So I am now thinking that this is less. This problem is different from what we were facing before. Before it was about creating the promise. That might be working now. BZ's point that I don't have to pass the context may have helped. That and having an auto context on the stack may have helped. But now I've got this other problem where sometimes this profile is just like I'm failing this assertion. So that's a thing. Let me write this down. Why am I failing this assertion? So I'm going to get rid of these because those weren't very helpful. Hang on. Why am I failing this assertion? Sorry, unping. Hey, if you have... Oh, sorry, let me bring the chat over here. Thank you, Asan, for saying on hi. This assertion with my once the last profile comes in from the child person. Like, have I broken up the... You are indeed. Let me know if that's a problem. Move my IRC client off screen. MS Tujer is now on air. Let me just make sure he's cool with it. I do feel weird. It's like this weird thing where IRC is this, like, anyone can connect to IRC and see the conversation, but, and we have logs for, oh, look what he said. MS Tujer, hi everyone, I'll have you know M. Conley is a cool guy, says M. Tujer. Aw, I wish I had some,
Oh, yeah.
and, what else have I got in here? Level up. Aww. Um, and don't tell him about any other substances you might be on. What? Okie dokie. So now I'm asking Shu about this. Now here's the thing. I only hit this time. Let's stop. Let's see if we're hitting this consistently. Maybe there's a pattern here while we're waiting for Shu. Shu says, because that assertion is bogus due to some changes I made earlier. Wah wah. Fitchin just report the same thing. Please remove the assertion for now. Have a patch soon. Okay, great. Okay, cool. Thanks. So, bogus assertion. Great. That can sometimes happen when you're working in an area of code that other people are working in, you know? Like, there's a high activity region of code, and people are working on it, and stuff lands that will get backed out or will break, and, you know, that'll happen. So, let's, boom. Remove bogus assertion, see if that helps out. So let's start again. Doesn't help that I've got this muscle in my arm that is twitching like crazy. That's really distracting me.
Mamma mia!
Mamma mia. Okay, it's 2:22. I don't know how far we're gonna get here. I've kind of slogged forward. It feels like I'm wearing concrete boots, or like the metal boots if we want to go Zelda style. But like, it's I feel like I'm making forward progress. I hope I'm making forward progress. Sometimes it's hard to tell. But let's see what happens this time. It'd be so great. It'd be so great if it just worked this time. I'd be so happy. I would commit the code locally, I'd post it for review, and then I would just like clean it all up. Because like, I don't want to spend time cleaning it up and making it perfect unless I know that this technique will even work. Because I'm not even sure. So, let's find out. That's what I want to know, is if this is even possible. I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure the technique will work. But I really need that feedback in order to know that it's okay to move, like, to start cleaning up the patch. Okay. Oh, great. I got all this history in here. That's cool. Pressing enter. Crashing the browser, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, and I didn't figure out why. I didn't have my debugger attached. I thought that would work. I had my hopes up. Let's try that again. This time I'll attach the debugger. Okay. So, let's put ourselves on the parent process and the child process, because it's kind of a wild card, it seems. Sometimes we're crashing one, sometimes we're crashing the other. Neither feels good. Both feel racy, or something. Something weird's going on. But we'll attach to both. Alright, let's get this crash going. Hey, alright. This is in... We're crashing here. When we attempt to parse the JSON. What the heck? Why? What is APTR in this case? 718. Val is 0. Do not know what is happening. Allocate memory for JS. I think it's attempting whenever it's press JSON with Reviver. I think while parsing the JSON, what the dealio? Why? What the heck? What the heck is going wrong here? Okay, well, let's look at the backtrace. Maybe we can show some of the backtrace now. This is pretty frustrating. Where's my angry sound? Do I have an angry sound?
Oh, wow, 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 wow.
That's pretty angry. Or how about,
Mamma mia!
I don't have too many angry sounds. I'm usually a pretty happy guy. This is an angry situation to be in. Okay, but I have a stack. So maybe I can show someone this stack. If it's not immediately obvious, I am lost. Like, I am just, like, dealing with this JS stuff is not something I am used to. And so I'm kind of lost here. Ever crashed while attempting to parse the string to JSON? I'm getting the, I mean, parsing a JSON string. People watching live, that's why I know, because I know this thing already had it covered. This is where this is using this code in Resolve. I want to show him the code. I have to wait for all these chunks to load up. What? And now it's loading them again. Why? Why would you do that? Profile gatherer. I think he didn't enter a compartment zone, so CX zone. The JSON parsing is in my resolve. Is in. And feels really flimsy. Well, folks, it's 2:31. I don't think I'm going to make much headway here. This was kind of a frustrating episode. Ooh, I've got some information. What's the crash? Shoot, burp. Um, uh, let's see if Shu has some info. Come on, Shu.
It's me, Mario!
If you have any suggestions also for sounds to pad out my collection, please let me know. Otherwise, I mean, my little palette here of sounds is not too big. I could add. I think I want to add like applause for whenever things go really right. Something doesn't look right there. That's not a valid this. Rut-row. So, sitting here waiting for some IRC conversation to occur. I don't think so. I apologize if you've been watching this whole episode. It's been rather frustrating. I was hoping to make more forward progress on this, but I mean, this has kind of been the state of game with this particular patch. Like, it took me a while to get all this stuff written, and even then, I was struggling the whole way through just to get it like to this point. And I feel like I'm close, and yet it also feels like there's a lot of things fighting against me, particularly my inexperience with the JS API, my the garbage collector it seems, my inexperience dealing with JSON parsing and C++, that sort of thing. So hopefully I will learn, and I'm talking to people in IRC, and hopefully I'll learn more, and then maybe next week I'll have something new to report. But I think I might cap my stream here. I really apologize if you were hoping for like more activity. Sometimes this happens where just like, no plan survives breakfast, and sometimes you don't move too very far forward, and I apologize about that. So, let's recap. We didn't get too far today. I think BZ helped me move forward just a little bit by helping me realize that I don't have to like pass a context in as the first argument whenever I resolve the promise. What else? I had this other backup thing that I was going to work on if I was blocked on this, but I never got blocked. What else? Ricardo's show. Ricardo's got a show coming up in less than half an hour, 25 minutes. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And he's going to be sitting right here and doing some design work. If you're interested in watching it, The Hour of Design, he's streaming it live on YouTube. And there's a link to it in the agenda, there's a link to the agenda in the additional links section just below. So I would highly recommend checking that out. Thank you for watching. I wish I'd had more activity. I wish it had been more splashy. We did have sounds. Let me know how these sounds work. Like, are they adding or detracting from the experience? Like, tell me, is this annoying? Is this like... Is that annoying? I don't know. Let me know. And if you have any requests for things I could add that you think might be appropriate, I'll consider it. In the meantime, I think I'm going to cap the stream here. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your patience. Hopefully next week we can move forward a little bit more. So, level clear. Thank you for watching The Joy of Coding, episode 17, and I will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.